He was born under a death sentence, raised in the palace of the very king who wanted him dead. Yet, this man would stand before an empire and demand the unthinkable, the freedom of a nation. But what happened next would shake the foundations of history itself. In the ancient land of Egypt, the sun blazed down on the golden sands, casting long shadows across a civilization of power and splendor. Yet within its borders, not all lived in glory. The Israelites, descendants of Jacob, were chained by the weight of oppression. They labored under the whips of Pharaoh's overseers, their cries rising like incense to the heavens. Generations had passed since Joseph had saved Egypt from famine, and the favor once granted to his people was long forgotten. The Pharaoh feared the growing number of Hebrews, convinced they might rise against him. So he issued a decree so cruel, it would send shivers down any spine. Every Hebrew boy that is born must be thrown into the Nile. But among the despair, a mother's courage sparked hope. She hid her newborn son for 3 months, and when she could hide him no longer, she placed him in a basket coated with pitch, and set him among the reeds of the Nile. His sister, Miriam, watched from a distance, her heart pounding. Down the river came Pharaoh's daughter, who, upon finding the child, felt compassion, and named him Moses, drawn out of the water. Raised in the palace, Moses wore fine linen, and learned the wisdom of Egypt. Yet the blood of a Hebrew slave beat in his heart. One day, witnessing an Egyptian strike a Hebrew, Moses acted in anger, killing the man. Fearing Pharaoh's wrath, he fled into the wilderness. In Midian, far from the roar of Egypt's cities, Moses became a shepherd. The desert wind whispered across the stones, and the days passed in solitude. Then, one day, he saw a bush ablaze with fire, yet not consumed. From its flames came a voice. Moses, Moses, I have heard the cries of my people. Go to Pharaoh. Tell him, my people go. Trembling, Moses protested, but God promised to be with him. With his brother Aaron as his spokesman, Moses returned to Egypt not as a fugitive, but as a messenger of the Almighty. Standing before Pharaoh, he delivered God's command. But Pharaoh's heart was hard. His defiance unleashed 10 plagues upon Egypt. Water turned to blood. Frogs swarmed the land. Darkness covered the skies. And finally, the firstborn of every unprotected household perished. In the dead of night, the wails of Egypt rose. Pharaoh, broken, summoned Moses. Go, leave my people. The Israelites left in haste, their bread unleavened, their steps quick. Yet freedom was short-lived, for Pharaoh's heart turned again. He pursued them with chariots, trapping them against the Red Sea. The people panicked, but Moses stood firm, raising his staff. The waters roared, then parted, forming walls on either side. Israel crossed on dry ground. When the Egyptians followed, the sea crashed back, swallowing horse and rider. At Mount Sinai, thunder and fire enveloped the mountain as God descended, giving Moses the 10 Commandments, a covenant between himself and his people. But even then, the Israelites faltered, forging a golden calf. Still, God's mercy endured. For 40 years, they wandered the wilderness, led by a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. Moses, faithful until the end, brought them to the edge of the promised land. From Mount Nebo, he gazed across the Jordan, seeing the land flowing with milk and honey. There Moses died, and God himself buried him, hidden from the eyes of men. The Exodus is not just about the past. It is about every soul that has ever been trapped in a place they were never meant to stay. It tells us that no chain is too strong, no sea too wide, and no Pharaoh too mighty for the hand of God. And if you think this is the end of Moses' story, you're wrong. What comes next will challenge everything you thought you knew about faith, leadership, and God's plan. Join us for the next chapter, and subscribe now, because the journey is only just beginning.